Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking some pretty dense, complex economic data and totally transforming it into a clear, actionable blueprint for national resilience and future-proofing. We're going to see exactly how a modern economy builds its foundational layers for the years ahead. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Physical infrastructure and urban growth. 2. Building our human capital. 3. Climate resilience and survival. And 4. The complete economic blueprint.
So Section 1, Physical Infrastructure and Urban Growth. Let's get right into the bricks and mortar.
Now you might be wondering, why does this specific area matter so much? Well, it turns out urbanization and tourism are driving this massive, continuous demand. Think about it. You literally cannot support a rapidly growing population or a booming tourism industry without a rock-solid infrastructure foundation. If the physical pipes, the roads, the basic grids aren't there, the economic engine simply cannot run.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the vital partnership between private money and the public rules that govern it. Looking at the investment side, we see these massive private opportunities, right? Climate-resilient housing, expanding ports, water management. But, and this is absolutely crucial, those private investments cannot succeed without the public policies to back them up. Adopting climate-resilient building codes, expanding public-private partnership frameworks, these are essential. The investments build the structure, for sure, but the policies, they're what actually permit them to thrive.
Moving right along to Section 2, Building Our Human Capital. We're switching gears from physical infrastructure to human infrastructure.
Take a look at this quote straight from the source data. Health services reduce outbound medical travel and attract foreign patients. Honestly, this acts like a brilliant economic defense strategy. By building up a world-class health sector, a nation essentially stops its domestic capital from bleeding out for treatments abroad, while simultaneously drawing in foreign wealth through medical tourism. It's a total win-win.
So let's see how this builds on that policy investment dynamic we talked about earlier. Look at these health investments, private clinics, wellness retreats, telemedicine. These don't just magically appear out of thin air. They actually require strengthening licensing, pushing accreditation, and actively encouraging partnerships with global institutions. It's actually those strict public policies that enable safe, profitable, and trustworthy private investments in advanced healthcare.
But, human capital isn't just about physical health, it's fundamentally about knowledge and skills. That brings us to education and training. Why does this matter? Because human capital is the true foundation of long-term competitiveness. Seriously, a nation's long-term economic edge on the global stage depends entirely on how it educates its people.
So the absolute crucial point here is making sure this education actually translates into real-world economic value. There are massive investments needed. Universities, e-learning platforms, and vital vocational training for key sectors like tourism, ICT, and marine. But glancing over at the policy side, we have to align our curricula with industry needs and really incentivize private education providers, because if the school curricula aren't aligned with what the industry actually needs right now, those investments are completely wasted.
Let's pivot to Section 3, Climate Resilience and Survival.
Let me ask you this. What happens when adaptation becomes a matter of national survival? We aren't just talking about improving economic profit margins anymore. If the physical infrastructure and the human capital we literally just built aren't protected from environmental realities, the entire blueprint collapses. Climate resilience isn't some optional add-on. It is the ultimate, necessary shield for the whole economy.
The source data states it perfectly, and I want to highlight this. Climate adaptation is a national survival priority. A national survival priority. The stakes genuinely do not get higher than that. An economy simply cannot function if the very environment it sits on is actively degrading or collapsing.
So, how do we actionably address a survival priority? The investments required here are massive and highly technical. We're talking coastal protection technologies, waste-to-energy systems, and heavy-duty water desalination. But how is all this funded? It's done by establishing rigorous climate resilience standards and attracting green financing. That specific public policy of drawing in international climate funds is the exact key that unlocks these life-saving private investments.
And finally, Section 4, the complete economic blueprint. Let's zoom out and put it all together.
12 total economic sectors are identified in this data, all targeted for deep, continuous collaboration between policymakers and private investors. It's actually incredible to see the sheer scale of this blueprint. This isn't just a handful of isolated ideas, it is a comprehensive, multi-engine economic machine.
Beyond what we've already covered, the broader ecosystem contains some really surprising components. We've got the blue economy driving oceanic sustainability, the creative sector adding immense cultural value, the digital sector generating these high-value fintech jobs, and logistics swooping in to lower costs across the entire board. The sheer diversity of this master plan is exactly what makes it so robust.
Here is the complete 12-sector summary table, and this brilliantly illustrates how a true, interconnected economic ecosystem actually functions. You can see how they all interlock and completely depend on each other. For instance, tourism, which is aiming for foreign exchange earnings through wellness and culture, absolutely needs the education sector to train its workforce. The marine sector, our export backbone, relies entirely on climate services for the coastal protection required to survive. It's this single, breathing blueprint where public policy and private investment have to dance together in every single row.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Investments build the future, but policies permit it. This entire blueprint hinges completely on that public-private partnership. The opportunities are laid out, and the necessary policies are clearly defined. The only question now is your sector ready, and where do your own interests fit into this incredible master plan? Thanks for exploring this blueprint with me today.